Developing right now on Morning News Now, backing off. This morning, the Trump administration signaling it's abandoning plans for that $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund after days of fierce bipartisan backlash on Capitol Hill over the prospect of convicted January 6 rioters potentially scoring taxpayer-funded payouts. Now, Democrats pushing to block the fund for good.
Donald Trump should be ashamed of himself for even coming up with this corrupt scheme in the first place.
If you believe that a temporary 2-week hold by this president means anything, I have a bridge I want to sell you.
Meanwhile, voters across several states are casting their ballots in key primary elections. We'll tell you the races to watch and what is at stake. Also this morning, strikes and setbacks in the Middle East. Iranian media reporting Tehran has suspended peace talks with the U.S. over Israel's expanding military offensive in Lebanon. Now, new concerns that the efforts to end the war could be over. We'll bring you the latest. And a potential breakthrough that could save millions of lives. What we know about a vaccine for melanoma that could keep the cancer from coming back once it's treated. And oh, the horror, the genre known for jump scares and terrifying twists, bringing audiences back to the movies. We will unpack why so many of us are embracing fear, at least in our film choices. 50% of us are.
That's incredible. Real life is scary enough for me, so I'm good without the
Joe doesn't like a scary movie.
But
I love it.
Anything that brings people to the theaters, I'm happy about. So we'll delve into that in a little
incredible.
bit.
Some of these are like YouTubers making these. It's crazy.
Unreal numbers.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you so much for starting your Tuesday with us. We are going to begin this morning in Washington with a rare reversal from the White House. President Trump appears to be backing off from that controversial anti-weaponization fund after a judge's order put it on hold.
The nearly $1.8 billion fund was created by the administration to send money to allies of the president, those he deemed, quote, victims of lawfare and weaponization during the Biden administration. This means the fund could have paid out taxpayer money to January 6th rioters. The news comes after rare and intense backlash from Republicans who threatened to team up with Democrats to block the fund. NBC News senior justice reporter Ryan Riley joins us now with the latest details on this. Ryan, good morning. So what do we know so far about why the White House is abandoning this fund? Is it a political decision? Is it a legal one? Is it a little of both?
I think a little of both is the best explanation there, because there had certainly been falls for this fund in court. But that decision really was only this 2-week hold. This wasn't a final decision on the merits of whether or not this fund was legal. A judge just simply said, hey, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to put this on pause and you can't take any further action until I can further hear arguments and ultimately rule on whether or not this can move forward. And even that wouldn't have been a final decision. They could have appealed that. And so typically you've seen the Trump administration push back very hard against judges, especially a preliminary order like this that really wouldn't even delay this in the long term or wouldn't hold this back in the long term. But now you sort of see them conceding to this. But I think that is what lawmakers are really going to press for. As you saw in some of those clips leading in, you've seen this pushback from lawmakers who don't necessarily think that you can trust what the Trump administration is saying here, given their efforts to put this forward on a more permanent basis.
Ryan, as you mentioned, this fund has generated this really rare bipartisan condemnation on Capitol Hill. Tell us what we're hearing from lawmakers.
Yeah, so lawmakers, even Republicans, have said that this is something that they want something more on, because this has held up legislation from moving forward in D.C., and they basically want more commitment and something more firm to be able to say that this isn't going to move forward, because all that the statement from DOJ essentially said is that we'll abide by the court order going forward. And essentially that could mean many things. That could mean, hey, we're going to put this filing in this Friday, and then we're going to appear in court next Friday. And while they did refer to the fund in the past tense, there wasn't anything definitive there saying we are not going to defend this fund altogether. We are going to concede its illegality and allow a court to more permanently enjoin us from moving forward. That wasn't the sort of definitive language that we saw. So we did see Senator Schumer lay out why he thinks they can't trust what the Trump administration is saying. Take a listen.
Trump is claiming that the slush fund is dead for now, but Democrats will not stop until it's well and truly buried and can never see the light of day.
And what's also interesting here is this all stopped because a January 6th prosecutor filed suit in the Eastern District of Virginia. There was actually another lawsuit filed by 2 additional January 6th prosecutors last night. Overall, that's the 5th lawsuit that's been filed against this, including 2 more in D.C. and another one in California. And so there is this pretty concerted effort to block this fund through a variety of means. That process is going to take a while to play out. And of course, these looming midterms could change everything altogether. So if the court process or any of these legal or any of these challenges from Congress just simply delay this for a few months, this could ultimately be something that could be blocked on a more permanent basis. But it really is that sort of 1-2 punch of the legislator and the judiciary blocking the efforts of the executive here.
Yeah, so Ryan, keeping in mind Schumer's skepticism there, what are the options Democrats would have to shut down the fund if it does come back? I mean, does it appear they have enough Republican support? Keeping in mind this is the Senate, you need a lot of consensus to push things through.
Yeah, exactly. And, it depends sort of on the way that this moves forward on the Hill, because they're trying to get all of that money across the line to fund the government, to fund agencies. And so if the Democrats could essentially bring up these amendments to try to force votes and try to force senators, especially on the Republican side, to take positions on this fund. It's just not something that is going to be particularly popular for the midterm elections, and that's something that even a Trump ally who advised Trump on January 6 matters conceded to me. This isn't something that is really going to be very popular, and so as it gets closer to the midterms, and especially as the Trump administration is facing a lot of these political headwinds, that's something that they think they can take advantage of, because there are just so many bad headlines, including the fact that one of the January 6 rioters, who is now serving the rest of his life in a state prison in Florida after being convicted of molesting 2 children, tried to threaten his victims with money he was expecting to receive from this type of fund. This has been something that January 6 rioters have wanted to come for a while, have seen coming down the pipeline for a while. And so every single one of those cases and going forward in every single one of those violent acts against officers is going to be a question of whether or not that's something that will be funded or will be paid out by taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, the TV political ads sort of write themselves there. All right, Ryan Riley, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Well, voters in states dotted from coast to coast are heading to the polls this morning for several key primary races.
Some of the most anticipated contests are out west, where Californians will vote for their next governor in a race with no clear frontrunner. And in Los Angeles, a reality TV star is on the ballot to try and be the city's next leader.
NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz is here to break this all down for us. Megan, good morning. Let's start in California, which Joe just mentioned. Governor Gavin Newsom, he cannot run this year because of term limits, and there are these dozens of names on the ballot. Polling indicates a few are battling it out for the top 2 spots then in November's election. Set the scene for us.
Yeah, so polling indicates that there are a handful of candidates who are at the top of the pack right now and vying for those two spots to head over to those later elections. Now, among those candidates who are polling at the top include Xavier Becerra. He is the former Health and Human Services Director during the Biden administration. You have billionaire activist Tom Steyer. Both Steyer and Becerra are progressives. And then you also have Steve Hilton. He is a former TV personality, and he is a Republican. Now, some of these race dynamics have been impacted by former Representative Eric Swalwell dropping out of the race following those sexual assault and misconduct allegations, which he had denied. Now, after he had dropped out of the race, Becerra in particular seemed to benefit from that in the polls. He rose much more in the polls compared to some of these other candidates as well. Now, Becerra, before he served as HHS secretary, he was previously California's attorney general. He also had previously served as a member of Congress. Steyer, meanwhile, has funneled more than $200 million into his campaign. He's a billionaire, and he's advocated for things like a billionaire tax, as well as a single-payer healthcare system. He's a progressive. And then Steve Hilton, he is a former Fox News host, and he also has President Trump's endorsement. So the way that it works with California's primary for this race is that, as you mentioned, there are literally dozens of candidates on the ballot, though there's the handful that have sort of risen to the front of it. The top two candidates who receive the most votes are going to then go on to the election this fall. That means that, in theory, it could be two Democrats who end up facing off against each other this fall. It could be a Democrat and a Republican. In theory, it could be two Republicans, though that seems fairly unlikely based on the way that polling has been shaping up. So regardless of party, we're going to see which top two candidates will ultimately proceed this fall.
And Megan, we're also watching the Los Angeles mayor's race. Karen Bass, the incumbent, is facing some primary challenges, including a reality TV star, one of the top contenders making a lot of national headlines. Tell us more about who she is up against.
Yeah, that's right. So Karen Bass is running for re-election. She has these two major primary challengers. On the left, she's being challenged by Nithya Raman. She is a city councilwoman, and she's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. And then on the right, she's being challenged by Spencer Pratt. Now, he is a former cast member of the MTV show, the reality show, The Hills. And he also, after the Palisades fires, his home had burned down in the fires. And he had sort of risen to some more prominence after that by speaking out against Mayor Bass and Gavin Newsom, Governor Gavin Newsom, arguing that they didn't do enough to prevent the fires or to stop the fires. So the way that it's going to work with this primary is that if one of these candidates wins a majority of the votes, and they would just simply immediately win to be the next mayor of LA. If a candidate does not win the majority of the votes, which seems to be fairly likely because there are these three major contenders, then the top two vote getters would then move on again to the election this fall, guys.
Megan, a bunch of other primaries to watch tonight. Let's focus in on one of the races to watch in Iowa. And there's an open Senate seat after Senator Joni Ernst, a Republican, decided not to seek re-election. What are you watching for there?
Yeah, so this is an interesting seat because it's one of the seats that Democrats have their eyes on as a potential seat to flip on their way to trying to flip the Senate blue. So as you mentioned, Senator Joni Ernst is not running for re-election. And Republicans now really have coalesced behind Representative Ashley Hinson. But on the Democratic side, you have these two major candidates who are facing off against each other. You have progressive state Senator Zach Walz, and then you also have moderate state Representative Josh Turek. So Walz is supported by Senator Elizabeth Warren. He has also sort of tried to position himself as against the Democratic establishment. So, for example, he has said that he would vote against Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to be the leader of Democrats in the Senate if Walz is ultimately elected. Meanwhile, Turek has positioned himself as a moderate. He's also a Paralympian, and he has pointed to his ability to win over some Republican-leaning parts of the state during his time as a state representative. So, it's primaries like these that are interesting to watch because it'll give us a bit of an indication about which direction the party in a state is moving. Is the party moving more toward the center if they end up going with a moderate? Is the party moving more toward the left if they're going with a progressive? So we're going to hopefully get a little bit, some more clues about where the party is heading once we ultimately get these results, guys.
All right, Megan, thank you so much.
In overseas news, President Trump says Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to a de-escalation in violence. The president said he spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and told him to call off an attack on the Lebanese capital of Beirut. He also said Hezbollah agreed to stop shooting. This intervention comes after Iran said on Monday it was suspending peace talks with the U.S. because of Israel's ongoing attacks on Lebanon and expanded ground invasion. The president initially denied talks were suspended, but then later told CNBC that he, quote, didn't care if they were over. Despite the announcement, Netanyahu said Israel would continue its attacks on southern Lebanon. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has the latest from Tel Aviv. Richard, good morning.
The war in Lebanon has now become a major stumbling block to reaching a peace deal between the U.S. and Iran, opening the Strait of Hormuz, lowering gas prices. President Trump personally intervening with what is widely reported as an angry call with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu. According to Axios, citing 2 U.S. officials, the call was full of expletives. President Trump telling Netanyahu that he's crazy, that he needs to cool things down, that he's being unappreciative, because Prime Minister Netanyahu has been escalating his war in Lebanon against the militant group Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran. Iran announced yesterday that it was calling off negotiations with the United States because of the war in Lebanon. Now, after this angry phone call, which Israeli media is also reporting about, saying that it was tense but not personal, Hezbollah and Israel appear to have agreed somewhat to dial things back, with Prime Minister Netanyahu saying that he's not going to carry out direct strikes against Beirut, as he had threatened to do, but he says he will continue with military operations in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah says it will stop firing if Israel stops firing. So there potentially is some progress there, but it remains very fragile.
All right, Richard, thank you.
Well, a federal appeals court panel has blocked the Trump administration from banning 28 active duty transgender service members from the military. In a 2-to-1 ruling yesterday, the judges said those members must be allowed to continue serving while lawsuits over their dismissal are decided.
It's the latest legal challenge over a divisive policy that has forced out thousands of transgender troops and has left others in limbo. The Pentagon banned all trans troops from service last year. President Trump signed an executive order saying they had a, quote, radical gender ideology, which he claimed was harmful to military readiness. Now the appeals court says that likely violates their constitutional rights.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos joins us now with more on this. Danny, good morning. Great to see you as always. So this ruling applies to this just over 24 service members, but does not apply here to active trans recruits trying to join the military, active recruits. Walk us through what's at the core of this particular case.
This was a very split decision. People already in the military are allowed to stay. Essentially, people seeking to join, that injunction is lifted and the ban is still in effect. It's about the Equal Protection Clause. Anytime a law or policy discriminates against a group of people, you have a potential Equal Protection Clause issue. But here's the irony. Not all groups are considered equal. If, for example, a law discriminated against Hispanic males of Ecuadorian descent, well, that includes me, that would be subject to the highest level of scrutiny called strict scrutiny. If, on the other hand, a law discriminated against fans of 1980s golden era professional wrestling, that would be me and Joe.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone. That is a group that is not entitled to the highest level of scrutiny. Instead, as long as the law has any rational basis, it is going to be upheld. So the key here is, was this about a medical condition or was it about an animus against a particular group? And what's amazing is the court said it really doesn't matter what class they're in. It fails every test. And we were taught in law school that lowest test, rational basis, the law almost always survives. And that's why this is a very significant holding.
The ruling won't go into effect right away because the court's giving the administration some time to review it. But does it feel like this issue is just destined for the Supreme Court at this point?
Yes. Procedurally, one of two things can happen right now. They can ask for an en banc hearing. So right now, you just have a panel of 3 circuit court judges who heard it. And if you lose at that level, you can ask, hey, we want the entire court to come in and hear this, the entire group of judges on this circuit. That's one option. And it's a very strategic choice you have to make. Do I feel better about my chances with the Supreme Court, or do I feel better about my chances with a full panel of this circuit court? And if you're the administration, you might feel like your chances are better up at the Supreme Court.
The plaintiffs in this case asked for this ruling really to be extended. Walk us through what it is that they're looking for and how you see that playing out.
This is called class certification. It's a vehicle, really a creation of American law, where if you have a group of people, you may be able to sue on behalf of thousands of people where otherwise each individual lawsuit would be impossible for everyone to maintain. But you don't automatically get to declare, I want a class of all colorblind individuals in the United States who've been harmed by this policy. Instead, you have to prove to the court certain things, that the group has common enough claims that you can administrate it as a group and you won't be unfairly adjudicating one person's rights over another person's rights. So you can be certified as a class, but you have to prove to the court that you deserve it.
This isn't the first case brought against this Pentagon policy, but the attorney for the plaintiffs is saying there's a different sort of legal argument here. What's different this time around?
The key here is really animus. That's what the plaintiffs are alleging. They're alleging they're alleging specifically that this policy was motivated by an animus, a dislike. It targeted people with gender dysphoria, or really, I should be specific because gender dysphoria is the medical term. It targeted people with gender identity issues, and that's the key. That's the key to this decision, is that the administration wanted to frame this as a medical condition because that will help them create policy for the military. After all, if I don't have legs, sadly, I can't serve in the military because I can't do certain things. But there, instead, the court said, no, this wasn't about a medical condition. This was about an animus, a dislike, targeting a group based on their identity.
All right, Danny Civilas, thank you.
Thank you.
A North Carolina police officer caught on camera repeatedly punching a woman during an arrest is now facing assault charges. That officer was fired from the force after the video went viral. NBC's George Solis has more on the story and a warning. Some of the images in this report are disturbing.
The former North Carolina police officer caught on camera repeatedly punching a woman has been charged with assault. This doorbell video shows the moment that officer, now identified as 22-year-old Carson Hyder, pushes 34-year-old Cherie Moore to the ground before unleashing a barrage of punches.
In the house, what are you doing?
As he strikes her, a second officer can be seen running into the frame to intervene.
Let go! Let go! I got it.
Moore is eventually placed in handcuffs and can be heard asking for mental health care and pleading for officers to call her father.
I'm not on my medication, call my daddy.
It's unclear what happened in the moments leading up to the encounter, which happened just outside Charlotte. Her family telling us this photo shows Moore's bloodied face. According to court documents obtained by NBC News, Moore was arrested for breaking or entering, resisting arrest, and assaulting a government official, accused of grabbing and ripping Hyder's uniform. The resisting arrest and assault charges have been dropped. Hyder was fired over the weekend after video of the arrest went viral. The police chief saying officers were conducting a criminal investigation in the area when they encountered a suspicious female.
The actions taken by one of our officers during that encounter are disturbing and inappropriate.
Hyder turned himself in this morning and was later released on bond. Records reviewed by NBC News show Moore and Hyder have a history. Just last year, Moore pled guilty to resisting arrest in a separate case that also involved Hyder.
The family has retained the services of civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who in a statement said no person in crisis should ever be subjected to this kind of treatment by those sworn to protect and serve.
Thank you, George.
Back to you.
Well, Los Angeles County Court has granted pop superstar Sabrina Carpenter a temporary restraining order against an alleged stalker who tried to enter her house. Carpenter filed the request on Friday. She claims the suspect, it's 31-year-old William Applegate, had been watching her home since April. According to court documents, it escalated on May 23rd when Applegate allegedly tried to forcibly enter Carpenter's LA home. NBC News was unable to find contact information for Applegate, and it is not clear if he has a lawyer. Police submitted a case for trespassing and other allegations from that May 23rd incident. A court hearing is scheduled for June 18th.
Let's get a check now on your morning news now weather.
Yeah, meteorologist Andrea Romero is tracking the risk of severe weather from Texas up to the northern plains. Andrea, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah and Joe. And we will be talking about this severe weather that will be impacting the nation's heartland for the next couple of days. In fact, this morning we are tracking some storms here moving on through parts of Oklahoma into Kansas this morning. And these central storms will continue to develop today. We're expecting areas of heavy rain extending from parts of New Mexico all the way up to North Dakota, with the severe risk mainly concentrated today over the northern plains. Tomorrow, that flood risk will be mostly over parts of western Texas into parts of eastern New Mexico, with severe storms again possible into the Dakotas. And that's all due to those frontal systems that will be interacting with all that tropical moisture in that area. And as we can see, the severe threat today will be focused mostly in parts of Nebraska into the Dakotas. Damaging hail will be the main risk, with hail 2-inch in diameter possible. Wind gusts are also possible, 60 miles per hour, and a few possible tornadoes. As far as rainfall forecast through tomorrow, we can see that bullseye of precipitation that will be falling over parts of eastern New Mexico and parts of western Texas. Especially the main concern will be in those burn scar areas, those steeper terrain where we can see some flash flooding developing in that location. But we can see that we do have that marginal risk of flash flooding also extending all the way from Houston into Miami, the eastern coast of Florida. As far as the temperatures, we have a mixed bag. We have some below average temperatures along the mid-Atlantic coast, above average along the northern tier, warmer temperatures in the northwest, but that's going to be trending warmer as we head throughout the week into the eastern part of the country, where we're going to be ending the week possibly with temperatures in the 90s here in New York City. So it's going to be warming up.
I'll take it.
Me too. Totally me too.
Exactly.
Thanks, Andrea. Appreciate it. Much more to come here on Morning News now. Later this hour, developing news out of Ukraine. Russia launching a series of drone and missile attacks on several key cities. We will bring you the latest.
At first, though, after the break, a race against time for crews in Laos working to rescue 2 men still missing in a flooded cave. We'll have an update next.
We're back now with international news. Rescue teams are still racing to find the 2 men trapped in that cave in Laos after 5 others were rescued. And now there are new signs the 2 might be alive. NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer has the latest.
The rescue is focusing on 2 men still missing 12 days after entering the cave. Divers using ropes to rappel down deep shafts, with another team exploring holes for new ways to get into the cave, but finding even bigger risks. Josh Richards was one of the divers.
The 2 tunnels that were there are so razor sharp that they couldn't drop down. So it's those kind of risks, dropping into holes where you know literally nothing because no one has ever done it before.
When they were in there, they also heard noises, scraping sounds deep inside the cave. A knock on the rock with a hammer, returning a noise that wasn't an echo.
I just couldn't pin down what this noise was that I could hear. It wasn't a consistent noise either, and it wasn't an echo.
Weather remains a problem, with torrential rain slowing the search. The plan, according to rescuers, to drain the cave system so they can reach chambers beyond where 5 men were already found. Lower water levels inside over the weekend allowed 4 of them to crawl out over 800 feet on their own, a day after the first survivor was freed by divers. The head of the operation, emotional, telling NBC News, "We have only the equipment we brought with us, but I think we did it," he says. "And for the rest, we will try to do our best." The world watching the expanding search for 2 men and ideally a new path to find them. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing.
We are following developing news out of Ukraine, where overnight Russia launched a barrage of missiles and drones on several cities.
NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter joins us now to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Hi, Molly. Good morning.
Savannah, Joe, good morning to you. That's right. We're starting in Ukraine, where a massive drone and missile attack has killed at least 20 people, injured more than 150 people in the eastern city of Dnipro. Regional officials now say an 8-year-old boy was pulled from the rubble in the capital of Kyiv. At least 5 people were killed and 65 injured. And now to Mexico. Riot police fired tear gas during a teacher rally. The teachers union has called for salary raises and the reversal of pension laws. They marched towards the city's famed Zocalo Plaza, which will be the center of a lot of World Cup fan activity. The union has also threatened to protest during the World Cup next week when it all kicks off. And finally to Poland, where apparently the livin' is easy and the lovin' is free. Tourists can now once again board the 666 bus and take the highway to hell. You guys, that is a single L, a popular beachside resort. Now, religious groups have objected to the title of this bus. It is back in action. You can go rock out to some AC/DC and get a tan on the Baltic coast. Guys?
At least it's
Wait,
fun.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Molly.
Savannah, let's go.
Yeah, love it. See you there, girl. All right, closer to home, Mexican law enforcement officials have discovered an elaborate cross-border tunnel into the United States. This one is between Tijuana and San Diego along the border. Investigators say the tunnel is about 3 football fields long and includes a track system. Reporter Jeanette Quezada from NBC San Diego has the details.
This is video NBC7 obtained from the Mexican District Attorney's Office of the operation conducted Sunday on the Mexican side of the border. Federal agents discovered a tunnel they say is nearly 3 football fields long. It includes lighting, ventilation, and a sliding mechanism that connects both sides of the border, according to Mexican authorities. Dr. Andres Sumano, who's an expert in public policy, says these tunnels are benefiting criminal organizations on both sides of the border since the 90s.
They are still using these types of tunnels, and the Baja Cali region, it's still the epicenter of synthetic drug trafficking.
Mexican authorities say with the help of security agencies, they carried out a search warrant in a Tijuana home for a violation of federal law involving weapons, explosives, and health laws. Once Mexican authorities accessed the property, they found it was operating as a possible storage facility for the trafficking of weapons, explosives, and drugs, adding that the tunnel possibly connects to a known San Diego street. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed to NBC7 they are conducting a criminal investigation involving an underground tunnel in Otay Mesa, but didn't confirm if the business on Roll Avenue is connected.
Right where we are standing, we can actually see several agents in front of one of the storefronts in that area. We can also see that that area has been taped off.
Experts say given the political climate, this is an important find since the U.S. government has been asking Mexico to crack down on drug trafficking. Homeland Security investigations told NBC7 they are not providing additional details to protect the integrity of the ongoing investigation.
Our thanks to Jeanette Quezada for that report. By the way, not the first underground tunnel discovered in that area. Back in 2022, a drug tunnel 1,800 feet long was discovered connecting a home in Tijuana to a warehouse in San Diego that held an estimated $25 million in drugs. Well, coming up on Morning News Now, a potential breakthrough in the fight against cancer. A new kind of vaccine showing promising results in keeping melanoma from coming back. Our Dr. Azar is here with what patients should know.
And also, it's being called scanxiety. We're going to unpack the stress that comes before and after those dreaded medical tests, what you can do about it, your weekly check-in after the break. We are back with a possible breakthrough in the fight against melanoma, the deadliest form of skin cancer. This year, more than 110,000 Americans are expected to be diagnosed.
Now, while melanoma makes up just about 1% of skin cancers, it causes the majority of skin cancer deaths. Well, now, a new personalized vaccine is showing promising results, not to prevent melanoma, but to help keep the cancer from coming back after it's already been treated.
NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar joins us now with more on this. So let's reiterate that point here. It is not about preventing. It is about keeping it from coming back. Yeah. So walk us through how we think it works, what the clinical trials are showing us.
This data is so exciting. So just to put everything into perspective, this is a phase 2. They're doing the phase 3. And what that means is that we got to get to that end stage, right, before we're going to see this hit the market. But these are such exciting results. How does this work? The vaccine, the personalized tumor vaccine, is the most amazing thing in the world to me scientifically. It's basically preventing recurrence of a cancer that's already recurred by taking the tumor after someone has had it surgically resected, and then they identify all of these unique, basically this like molecular footprint on that tumor, and they make a vaccine for that footprint. They give it back to the patient, so the patient's T cells, these are these immune cells that can naturally kill viruses and cancer cells, can basically kill any tumor cells that are remaining and kind of like travel throughout your bloodstream to basically find any lingering cancer cells that could be there and kill them before they basically start tumor regrowth.
Wow, just incredible. Yeah. Okay, so meant for people then who had melanoma and are worried about it coming back, and when could they start using this?
So as I said, because it's in the phase 2 right now, which is really exciting, but they're already doing the phase 3 on about 1,000 patients, I think that they're going to be able to release those results. Actually, they're calculating the results right now. They should be able to release those results in about a couple of months. So we actually could see something like this before year's end. And we've been highly anticipating these mRNA vaccines, especially for melanoma, but it's also being used in other cancers as well.
Let's talk about that because we had just the great news we were talking about yesterday with the mRNA vaccine helping out with pancreatic cancer. So is there a theory that something like this, the specific thing we're talking about right now with melanoma, could also help with other cancers?
Absolutely. Breast cancer is another place where this technology is having its moment, if you will. And there are multiple different types of cancer vaccines. Some, like in this case, it's called a personalized vaccine because you are literally taking the person's tumor and making the vaccine unique to their tumor footprint. But there are other ways of doing this, basically calling it something like an off-the-shelf vaccine, meaning that there are certain, proteins that so many cancers express that you can just make a blanket cancer vaccine for almost any type of cancer. And I just, to put a fine point on it, this is mRNA technology, right? I mean, I think most people will remember what that means from the COVID vaccine era. mRNA technology has been around 4 decades, and we really saw this accelerated movement after the COVID-19 vaccine to see what other kinds of applications could be in place for something like this. And this is just a beautiful example. Again, these results have been sort of percolating for quite some time. So it's really exciting, to see these results done by my colleagues at NYU. So I'm a little shout out to them. Very, very proud.
It's amazing. I mean, how big of a deal is this? Especially like Joe just mentioned, it's our second day we're reporting on what seems like a pretty big breakthrough when it comes to cancer treatment.
So what I think is so exciting about this is that I think when we first started having immunotherapy, and by the way, the patients in this trial got their personalized vaccine alongside standard of care, which is something called immunotherapy, which is also a way to harness the body's own immune system to attack cancer cells. When immunotherapy first came on board, it changed the landscape, right? We moved away from just chemotherapy to these very precise ways of treating tumors, again, using your body's own immune system with a lot less toxicity. But immunotherapy is not without its own toxicities. And when you start layering immunotherapy on top of immunotherapy on top of chemo, patients can really have a problem with the treatment. These personalized vaccines are much better tolerated. You're getting a vaccine. You may have a little, like a flu-like illness or something like that. So as an adjunct to standard of care, and maybe something that might, I don't know that we'll ever lose chemo and immunotherapy completely, but it's just such a beautiful way of treating these cancers, really using the science to treat these cancers rather than just like, a carpet bomb, which is basically how we describe chemotherapy, where you're wiping out everything bad, but you're wiping out everything good as well.
Another tool to help us out.
Absolutely.
Dr. Azar, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Great to have you. Well, it's time now for our weekly mental health check-in. This week, we've got important info for parents on modeling phone behavior.
Plus, horror films taking over Hollywood. So why are so many people embracing fear for entertainment?
And for more, let's bring in we have to ask a doctor what's wrong with us. For more, let's bring in Dr. George James. He's a licensed therapist and the author of I Give Myself Permission. He joins us now to make sense of it all. Dr. James, it's always great to have you with us. So let's start on this new guidance for families about phone use. It's really about parents who are being urged to put their cell phones away. This is coming out of Sweden. They say phone time is affecting their kids' well-being. What's that link here, and what are maybe some habits that parents could work on at home?
Good morning, Savannah. Yes, what we found out is actually something that we probably should have known for a while, that the behavior that parents have actually influence the behavior of their children. So if you have heavy phone use and you're doing that around your children, they might want to now use their phones or devices a lot. And so it's really recommended that parents maybe go a little less with their phones, or maybe have phone-free zones, or just really be able to have more family time, dinner time, or even keep your kids from having their phones at night. So being able to model that behavior and have that in the household can really be effective.
Let's look at something we might experience at some point, and it's the stress that can come with an upcoming medical test and waiting for the results. You used to have to wait for a phone call. Now so much of it is done online and on apps. But talk about why this can be so emotionally challenging, and what advice you give to people who are dealing with what we're calling scanxiety.
Yeah, scanxiety, Joe, is really the fear of being able to go to have an exam or a scan. It makes complete sense that you're worried about what the result might be. And unfortunately, for some people, that means they don't even go to the doctor or have the exam or scan. I would encourage you to still do it, but also do the things that can be helpful. Talk to your doctor about your worries or fears. Be able to talk to friends and family. Take some breaks for yourself. practice self-care, but really do what you need to do and go through it and know that when you get the exam or scan that you can then figure out what you need to do next. Don't avoid it and get some help and support.
Oh, good advice there. Okay, all right, let's talk about these horror movies. So they're having a moment. I've always loved a scary movie, but it seems like people are like newly fans here because of these huge opening weekends that we're seeing. One called Backrooms. We also, of course, saw Sinners and Weapons. They ended up winning 5 Oscars between them. Sometimes, of course, tough to watch, but experts say they actually might be helpful for our mental health. So tell us about this.
So, Savannah, this is where you and I are different, right? I avoid these movies, but I know lots of people do love these movies. And it does a few things for people. For some people, it helps them to understand like what's possible. Like it makes them think about the worst case scenario, what are people like, and actually helps them to understand the psyche of other folks. But then it also helps them to think about what they would do in a dangerous situation. And for some people, if they're anxious or overwhelmed, it gives them a place to focus that anxiety. They're worrying about what's happening. You know, some people will say, why did you do that? Or why did you go there? Yeah. It helps them to like focus on that person or thing and not themselves. So it can really be a break from their worries and their anxiety and be helpful overall. I'm going to find a comedy. I'm going to do something else, but you can find a horror movie and that will be perfectly fine.
Right. Like, is it like training for if a serial killer is coming after you?
I was just going to say, after a scary movie, sometimes with my friends, I'll be like, what would you do if blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I don't know, maybe I.
They always make the wrong choice, too. We should be clear. It's like, wait, why are you doing that? No, the other way.
Right. Yeah. Come on.
It does also make you grateful. Like, you know what? Like, I'm not stuck in this maze thing in back rooms. Yeah. It can't be that bad.
I'm with you. Comedy. That's what we want.
Dr. George James, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, the race to Wall Street, 2 AI giants competing to be the first to go public.
The latest filing and what it could mean for the industry. You're watching Morning News Now.
We're back with the race to get to Wall Street, a battle between 2 of the world's largest artificial intelligence firms. Anthropic, the maker of Claude AI, officially filed for an initial public offering. Yesterday, the company wants to beat its chief rival, OpenAI, which created ChatGPT, to the stock market.
Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission will review the filing, which came earlier than some market analysts expected. Both AI companies, which have multi-billion-dollar values, were previously expected to begin trading later this year.
Well, on this, let's bring in Brooke DePalma. She is a senior reporter and on-air correspondent for Yahoo Finance. Brooke, good to have you with us. And most of the details in the filing are confidential right now, but what do we know?
Right. Most of the details are confidential right now. But what we do know is that this allows sort of the company to work behind closed doors with regulators to sort of highlight, okay, what are some regulation risks? What exactly does the revenue look like? Just how much are we willing to disclose? And as you noted, this is really a competition that is amping up even more so on Wall Street. And so this allows Anthropic to iron out all these details behind closed doors so that its biggest competitor, OpenAI, doesn't know any of these details prior to that debut. But eventually we will get those details. They do need to file them about 15 days before they start what is called an IPO roadshow, essentially just going around trying to get investor interest to come on ahead of that big IPO date. And eventually that should happen about later on this year. It takes about 1 to 3 months within this filing to sort of play out here.
Explain what it would mean for Anthropic if they beat OpenAI to the market.
Right. Well, this did come as a surprise. We weren't expecting to hear Anthropic filing this early. We were expecting to hear over the past few weeks from OpenAI, from the maker of ChatGPT. And this is already bad news because just last week we got a new $65 billion funding round for Anthropic. That brought the valuation to about $960 billion. Now that's surpassed OpenAI's about $860 billion valuation. So it almost feels like OpenAI is already falling behind. And one analyst put it at Wedbush's Dan Ives that this really does open the floodgates. There's only so much capital that's flooding into Wall Street right now for these sort of AI investments. And if you think that, say, Anthropic goes public first, will investors then jump on that bandwagon first? Then will OpenAI go public? And maybe the interest will already be set in one place. We also have SpaceX, as Elon Musk company, into the competition as well.
You mentioned that $960 billion valuation. I can't help but think of the dot-com bubble. And we had all these companies with these sky-high valuations, but at the end of the day, it was a challenge to bring in revenue. So how do these companies make money?
Right, and exactly how is their model maybe different from somebody else? Really what it comes down to is right now Anthropic is one of the costlier subscription models. For their max plan, it does cost a customer, an everyday person like you and me, about $100 per month. That's quite significant. On top of that, too, they do have more institutional customers. So think Netflix and Uber. They're paying currently to use Claude Code. That's their coding assistant. And on top of that, too, they're also paying to provide tokens. I don't know if you guys have heard that concept of token maxing for employees, but they essentially provide tokens to their employees. They're encouraged to then use these tokens. And we've even heard reports that employees are using so many tokens that then it's more so than what the company initially anticipated. So that's another source of revenue as well.
When this does eventually happen, it goes public, what are investors looking at here?
Well, they're definitely looking at margins. I mean, these are very costly to operate. On top of that, too, we want to understand how exactly they're building out this data center, the infrastructure needed in order to run these sort of models and ultimately then make that revenue. Also, what exactly is the path to profitability? How exactly do you continue to make money in this sort of very costly environment?
Real quickly here, how could going public just change the experience for people using Anthropic?
Well, the free trial maybe not be as open as what we had initially expected. You know, essentially they need to make money at the end of the day. They're held to now analyst targets. And so maybe that free tier won't be as open. Maybe they need to subscribe or pay in order to get more access. I think that for the everyday person is what could come out as the most, opportunity at the end of the day.
All right. Brooke DePalma, good to have you with us and walk us through this. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Coming up, a heartfelt gift to a beloved high school principal on graduation day.
The fact that students took the time to pour back into me. Today is their day, and to take that time and show some kind of appreciation to me was just phenomenal.
How his senior class pulled off the ultimate surprise as a thank you for all his support. This is Morning News now.
Welcome back finally this hour as high school graduations are getting underway across the country. One principal in Texas who went viral last year for giving his students encouragement on their next steps is now getting some of his own.
He has a tradition of writing a personalized letter with a dollar bill inside each graduating senior's diploma. Reporter Wayne Carter from NBC Dallas shows us how students are finding a way to repay him.
While we're waiting for our final graduates, let's recognize a few groups joined us today in the auditorium.
That's Summit High School principal Jason Mutterer.
He has such a close connection to us that he knows what we're doing and he's there to support us.
You may not remember his name, but you probably remember the gift he gave every graduate last May.
He wrote 443 letters, I think. That took time, and each note was very detailed.
Tucked inside every diploma was $1 to commit an act of kindness and a handwritten note personalized to each student. This year, another stack of dollar bills from his own bank account, another stack of letters from his heart, another group of teens feeling the love of their high school principal.
He does it because he cares. He did it because he loves us and he cares. And I think this would just be such a surprise, such a welcome surprise to him.
Surprise him they did in the middle of the graduation.
We have a surprise for you. Over the past few days, we got every senior to write you a letter in return.
Nearly 500 18-year-olds juggling finals, work, family, pulled off a campus-wide coup.
I have mine right here. He says, Dana Man. That's what they call me. That's my nickname, Dana Man.
Andrea, thank you for being an important piece of our girls' track program.
He said, thank you so much for your leadership. You've showed a great example of what it likes to excel.
And their words back to the principal.
Coach Mutt, you are the light of our school. Thank you so much for always believing in me and in
meeting you, I gained a leader, a role model, and most importantly, a friend.
You've shown me what a great leadership looks like, and I definitely want to be a principal like you.
We wish this story ended here, but life doesn't always tie up neatly in a bow.
I did not know at all because he showed up and had a smile on his face. When I found out through my mom on Facebook. I was heartbroken for him.
The man who never misses a student's game, competition, or dance was dealing with pain from an even bigger love in his life. His wife, Ginny, diagnosed with cancer and fighting all school year, the family dealing with it silently.
I was so shocked that the fact that that was going on, and I had no idea because you wouldn't see it.
The class of 2026 asked his wife Ginny and their twin daughters to show up graduation day, the class showering them in the same love their principal gives day to day.
How you doing?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah?
Really overwhelmed. Just the fact that students took the time to pour back into me. They didn't have to do that, right? They're the ones that should be celebrating, and today is their day. And to take that time and show some kind of appreciation to me was just phenomenal.
Oh, just so sweet. Our thanks to Wayne Carter for that story. And how about this? That senior class has received a total of $14 million in scholarships.
On top of all that, the principal's twin girls graduate from college this week as his wife is undergoing another round of chemotherapy. He's got a lot of reading to do. Some 500 cards to read to boost his spirits all along the way.
But he's an incredible dad alongside principal.
I've no doubt about it. All right, that is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thank you for starting your day with us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, funding denied. The Trump administration appears to be backing off its controversial $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund. Comes after a rare backlash from Senate Republicans teaming up with Democrats to block the measure, a fund that could have compensated those who took part in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Also, it's another primary day in several states, votes that could have ripple effects ahead of the midterms. We've got the latest from Washington and beyond. TV turmoil, a staff meeting at CBS turning into a fiery confrontation over the future of legendary news magazine 60 Minutes. Veteran correspondent Scott Pelley questioning CBS News leadership, even accusing them of, quote, murdering the program following a massive shakeup of the show's staff. The latest fallout and whether the flagship news magazine can survive the changes. Back in action, all-time tennis great Serena Williams announcing she is returning to the court for the first time in 4 years. The 23-time Grand Slam champ set to compete in London. Reaction ahead on her highly anticipated return. And Broadway buzz. The Tony Awards are this weekend, and a show called The Ballasters is up for 5 Tonys, including Best Play. Later this hour, we're going to go one-on-one with one of its stars. Stage legend Richard Thomas, the former star of The Waltons, will join us live as he looks forward to Broadway's biggest night. Could be saying we're saying, good morning, John Boy. I don't know if you know that reference. I know, it is The Waltons. It goes way, way back. So we'll get into that in a little bit.
Exciting before the Tonys.
Exactly. Too. Let's begin this hour with a dramatic shift from the White House. The Trump administration appears to be backing down from that nearly $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund.
President Trump created that fund to compensate people he says were unfairly prosecuted by the Biden administration. It has been slammed by Democrats as a slush fund for Trump's allies and also received opposition from the president's own party. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us with the details. Gabe, good morning.
This came after unusually intense pushback from Republicans who threatened to revolt in the Senate over this controversial plan that could have paid out taxpayer money to January 6th rioters. This morning, a rare reversal. The Trump administration appearing to back off plans for its $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund after a judge's order put it on hold. The Department of Justice saying it disagrees strongly but will abide by the court's ruling. And President Trump telling ABC News if a court doesn't allow it, and right now a court hasn't held up, what can you do?
Donald Trump should be ashamed of himself for even coming up with this corrupt scheme in the first place.
Democrats called it a slush fund for Trump allies, but there was unusually fierce opposition from Republicans. Some even threatened to team up with Democrats to block it.
I do think that the best way to handle it is if the administration decides to shut it down themselves.
President Trump had defended the fund, created to compensate people he says were unfairly prosecuted by the Biden administration.
These were people that were weaponized and really treated brutally by
a system that was so corrupt.
But the bipartisan condemnation included a closed-door clash between acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and GOP senators.
This is just stupid on stilts.
Amid concerns the fund could be used to pay January 6th rioters.
It's deeply offensive to me that you could have a fund that could even possibly compensate people who assaulted police officers or vandalized the Capitol on January 6th.
Democrats are skeptical the administration is abandoning the idea for the fund entirely and are pushing a bill to officially ban it.
I'm glad to see some of our Republican colleagues speak out on this, but there's a simple way to stop this and stop it for good and prohibit any future entertaining of even the idea of this kind of a slush fund at taxpayer expense.
With Congress back in session this week, the controversy over the fund had threatened to torpedo the bill Republicans are trying to push through Congress to pay for ICE and Border Patrol through the end of Trump's term. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is likely to be grilled about the fund and whether the administration is dropping it for good when he testifies on Capitol Hill later today. Joan Savannah.
All right, Gabe, thank you.
Several key primary races are happening across the country today. In California, voters are heading to the polls this morning to choose the state's next governor. That's because two-term Governor Gavin Newsom is leaving office at the end of the year. So far, none of the candidates lining up to succeed him has really captured the attention of voters. Not the case in the Los Angeles mayoral race, where reality TV star Spencer Pratt is one of the top contenders to be the city's next leader, challenging incumbent Karen Bass. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has been following the race closely. Joins us from L.A. with the latest. Liz, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning to you. Spencer Pratt has certainly made a name for himself in this race. It's really been centered on three key issues: frustration over homelessness, the fire recovery, and a large decline in Hollywood production here. And the latest polls show it could be anyone's game to head to a runoff with current Mayor Karen Bass just a few points ahead of Pratt and her fellow Democrat, Nithya Raman.
This morning, voters gearing up for a key primary day. Razor-tight races across the country and all eyes on California.
Now this is a story all about how...
In the final hours of a contest fit for Hollywood, the Los Angeles mayor race where reality star Spencer Pratt...
I say things that I feel.
With the help of viral AI campaign ads made by his supporters, has gained late traction in his long shot bid.
We all have the experience living in this city.
Pratt, who is a registered Republican but running with no party affiliation, entered the race after losing his home in the Palisades fire last year. He's trying to unseat incumbent Democratic Mayor Karen Bass, who faced intense criticism for her handling of that disaster.
It was one of the worst moments of my life to not be here when my city needed me.
They're also facing City Councilwoman Nithya Raman.
I just don't think Spencer Pratt is any good for LA. He is an influencer. He is a reality TV star.
Definitely voting for Pratt.
Why is that?
Because I'm voting for change.
Californians are also choosing the next leader of the nation's most populous state. Nearly 60 candidates are running to succeed Governor Gavin Newsom. The crowded race becoming even more muddled after former Congressman Eric Swalwell dropped out following sexual assault allegations, which he denies. Democratic politician Javier Becerra currently in the lead, with billionaire investor and climate activist Tom Steyer, also a Democrat, and right-wing political commentator Steve Hilton tracking closely behind. And there are other major races today in 6 primary states. From Iowa, where Democrats are battling it out, hoping to win a Senate seat in the traditionally Republican state this fall, to an unusual race in New Jersey, where GOP rep Tom Kaine has disappeared from the public eye for months, leaving Republicans worried they may eventually lose his key congressional seat, all setting the stage for midterm elections that could shift the balance of power in Washington.
Now, as for that race in New Jersey, Congressman Kaine has said he is addressing a personal medical issue and that he will return once recovered, but he has offered no other details. Meanwhile, here in California, there's also several notable House races to watch, including in San Francisco, where voters are deciding who will take over Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi's seat when she retires after nearly 40 years in Congress. Joe.
A busy night ahead. Liz, thank you.
Well, in international news, President Trump says Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to de-escalate their conflict in Lebanon after he spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and Hezbollah intermediaries. He said both sides agreed to, quote, stop shooting. The intervention comes after Iran said it was suspending peace talks with the U.S. because of Israel's intensifying ground invasion of Lebanon. Despite the announcement, Netanyahu said Israel would continue its attacks in the south. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has the latest from Tel Aviv. Richard, good morning.
The war in Lebanon is increasingly an obstacle to reaching a peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. President Trump reportedly had a very tense phone call with Prime Minister Netanyahu, full of expletives. Israeli media is reporting it, describing it as not personal, but tough.
Thousands of government supporters rallied in Tehran overnight, not against the latest exchanges of fire with the U.S., but Israel's intensifying war in Lebanon, which has become the main sticking point, blocking a peace deal with Iran. While President Trump continues to push for a deal that could lower gas prices, Iran announced via state media that it suspended negotiations with Trump to open the Strait of Hormuz until the war in Lebanon is included in the agreement. The U.S. says talks with Iran are still happening. President Trump already brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon in April, but it has not been holding. Israeli forces are now pushing deeper into Lebanon, sending thousands of civilians into their cars yesterday to escape Israel's advance. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, has been launching rockets at civilians in northern Israel and using drones to attack Israeli troops. President Trump said on Truth Social that he called Prime Minister Netanyahu and communicated indirectly with Hezbollah, writing, "They agreed that all shooting will stop, that Israel will not attack them, and they will not attack Israel." Axios, citing two sources, reports President Trump exploded on the call with Netanyahu, cursing, calling him crazy, and accusing the prime minister of ingratitude. Netanyahu's office and the White House haven't commented on the Axios report. Netanyahu agreed to pause attacks on the Lebanese capital, Beirut, but said in a statement the Israeli military will continue operating as planned in southern Lebanon. A Hezbollah leader said the group would stop shooting if Israel stops fighting across the country. Not the same terms, so a broader peace deal still appears elusive.
Israel offered more evidence this morning that it has no intention of slowing down its war in southern Lebanon, issuing what it described as urgent warnings for civilians in southern Lebanon to leave parts of the area.
All right, Richard, thank you. Well, let's continue this conversation with Elise Labit. She's the host of Cosmopolitics on Substack. Elise, good to have you with us. So let's start with that phone call that Richard just outlined there between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Well, it wasn't confirmed by either side. How frustrated do you think the Trump administration is with Israel about what's happening in Lebanon, particularly if it continues to threaten peace hopes with Iran?
Well, guys, I think the terms of the call and what was said on the call is a little bit in dispute, the actual expletives that were used. But it's pretty clear that, what the Israelis are doing, kind of linking the whole war with Iran to what's going on in Lebanon, and his refusal to listen to President Trump. And, as Richard said this morning, the ceasefire that Trump announced last night, or the de-escalation, is certainly not in effect. This is really holding up those negotiations. It did seem that there was a deal between the U.S. and Iran over, this MOU, a ceasefire for longer negotiations. But now the Iranians are standing firm. So there's always something that's kind of standing in the way of talks. But it does seem that tying the war to what's going on in Lebanon, and you saw that during the initial kind of round of negotiations between the U.S. and Iran and the initial ceasefire, that continues to hold things up. So it's very frustrating for the U.S.
With that in mind, do you think this announcement by President Trump of a de-escalation between Israel and Hezbollah could be enough to bring Iran back to the negotiating table?
Listen, I got to be honest. At this point, I don't really listen to these announcements, or President Trump tweeted this, or then the Iranians dispute it. I kind of look at what's happening on the ground. And you see what happened this morning. Even though President Trump said that yesterday, this morning there were some more strikes in southern Lebanon, apparently, not intentionally, of course, but a father and an 8-year-old daughter were killed. I think 8 people were killed in total. So these strikes are going to continue to go on. I think maybe the Israelis will stop shooting in Beirut, which is very controversial. But the Israelis don't see any sign of stopping. What you did see this morning was the Speaker of the Parliament, Nabil Berri, whose party is very closely aligned with Hezbollah, said that, Hezbollah is willing to stop shooting, as Richard said, if the Israelis do. So now I think there'll be an effort to kind of make Netanyahu the boogeyman here, and that if he doesn't stop it, it's really now in the Iranians' court whether they're willing to accept what they're willing to accept in terms of a halt to what's going on in Israel. And that, opens up a larger question about whether Netanyahu is really the kind of ointment in the ointment here, and whether these talks can go ahead. It's we see something new every day.
Let's talk about the negotiation itself, because you recently pointed something out in an article here, essentially that the war kind of began about Iran's nuclear problem, but the negotiation here, what could end it, could be more about the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, I think the larger thing here is about who's got the most leverage. It used to be that, the nuclear weapon, Iran's nuclear program, was this kind of theoretical danger that the Iranians always had and they always threatened to use, but they never used it. It was kind of an ace in the hole. Now they've seen that this could disrupt the entire global economy. And while the Iranians are saying that the war in Lebanon is holding up negotiations, it's really the global economy that's suffering here. And so, President Trump said, he makes all these calls to reporters, and to one of them, I can't even remember who it was, he said, I don't care, we don't need to negotiate. Let's just leave the blockade in and we'll see what happens. The global economy can't stand that. The summer is coming up. Gas prices are expected to lift even further. So the U.S. really needs the deal here, and the Iranians seem to have this kind of sleeping form of this leverage that has always been dormant. But now this is, the Iranians said last week that this is their new atomic bomb. So they've seen that the Strait of Hormuz is something they can actually use. They're using it. And so the Iranians do have the leverage here. We're not saying that their missile program, their nuclear program, their military hasn't been really decimated, but it hasn't been destroyed. And this war is going on 3 months now.
All right, Elise Labit, thank you so much.
Tensions are boiling over at flagship news magazine 60 Minutes, which airs on CBS. Veteran correspondent Scott Pelley grilled senior leadership during a heated meeting yesterday. Pelley questioned the network's commitment to 60 Minutes and whether the show's new executive producer is even qualified to run the broadcast. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk is following the developments. Steph, good morning.
This comes after a series of changes at CBS News. Critics have accused its new leadership of being politically motivated, as its parent network, Paramount, is part of a merger under review by the Trump administration, while CBS bosses say the shifts are necessary. This morning, turmoil at 60 Minutes.
I'm Scott Pelley.
Veteran correspondent Scott Pelley blasting CBS News leadership in a fiery meeting Monday, accusing editor-in-chief Barry Weiss of murdering the revered show, according to a source in the room and an audio recording obtained by NBC News. The tense exchange came during a staff meeting with the brand new 60 Minutes executive producer, technology journalist and documentary maker Nick Bilton, who was tapped by Weiss last week, despite never having worked in traditional broadcast news. At Monday's meeting, Bilton warned staff that broadcast is an ice cube that is melting, and the show must adapt, but added that Weiss loved 60 Minutes, according to the recording. At that, Pelley interrupted, saying firmly, she does not love this place. She was brought in to kill it, and she's been doing exactly that, adding she has no qualifications for her job, and telling his new boss directly, you have slender qualifications for this job. Former 60 Minutes head Bill Owens also blasting CBS Monday night.
Scott can smell a fraud from a mile away.
As concerns grow for the landmark show.
60 Minutes really is the crown jewel of American journalism, and there's a lot of fear and anxiety among people.
The fiery meeting comes just days after Weiss fired the show's executive producer, Tanya Simon, her deputy, and 2 60 Minutes correspondents. Among them, Sharon Alfonsi, whose story questioning the Trump administration's immigration policies was temporarily held by Weiss just before it was set to air in December. Alfonsi publicly calling that a political decision, while Weiss said the segment wasn't ready. Tensions between journalists and leadership had already been high since David Ellison took over CBS News parent company Paramount last year. and appointed Weiss, a former columnist critical of legacy media, as editor-in-chief. Since then, the network and 60 Minutes has seen multiple shakeups, including the loss of star Anderson Cooper.
To give up something you've watched since you were a kid, yeah, I will miss this.
Now some wonder if the clock is ticking on a Sunday institution.
Following this meeting, a source close to Scott Pelley tells NBC News that he heard from both current and former 60 Minutes staff, including Sharon Alfonsi, thanking him for his comments. CBS News did not respond to a request for comment. Back to you.
All right, Steph, thank you. For more on this, let's bring in Brian Steinberg. He is the senior TV editor for Variety, and he recently did some reporting on the issues at 60 Minutes. Brian, good to have you with us as always. I mean, this is an extraordinary confrontation. It follows these months of growing tensions that you've been covering between 60 Minutes staffers and the new management there. Was it inevitable something like this was going to happen? And explain how rare something like this is in the news world.
I mean, this is a world that is fraught with tension, stars, talent, high drama, getting the story and the story behind the story. But this is unusual for arguably the best known, one of the best known of the correspondents to lash out in front of others against the new boss of 16 Minutes. So this has been building for a while. Barry Weiss has come in really with a let's move fast and break things mentality to try and do what she thinks is necessary to make CBS News relevant for a modern age where people don't get their news from TV. But at the same time, there are a lot of questions about her savvy with broadcast operations. These are still big shows that generate millions of dollars, and undermining them actually hurts revenue flow to Paramount, just as it's trying to get back on its feet under new management.
Nick Bilton, appointed as the new executive producer of 60 Minutes just last week. We just heard about him in Steph's piece there, and really how critical, scathing Scott Pelley was about him. Why was that? Tell us what we know about his background.
Well, Nick Bilton really is a technology journalist, came to fruition at the New York Times with a column, went over to Vanity Fair. Since then, he's optioned a lot of his Vanity Fair stories into movie and film projects. He's tried to do documentaries. He's been involved with some screenwriting. Noah Oppenheim, a former NBC News president, had a similar background, leaving news division for Hollywood, coming back, managing Today, and becoming president of NBC News. But I don't know that Nick has the news background that Noah had, and certainly doesn't have the broadcast management background that really is required. This is a show that costs millions of dollars to get on the air. These segments cost $75,000 a piece, plus very top salaries in the news business. It's not a business you just give to someone on a whim.
And as was pointed out, if you listen to some of the details reported of the meeting, this theory that, we'll just throw correspondents on the air. To be a 60 Minutes correspondent, right. Totally. It takes months and months and months of training, and the stories themselves take months to cover. It's not something that happens just like that. We know 60 Minutes has been on the air for nearly 60 years. Like anything in the media world right now, it has its share of challenges. But can the show, do you think, survive what is happening right now?
So weird question, because the show has been surviving. It was up 9% in overall audience this past season. It generates a pretty good profit, is my understanding. It is arguably the jewel of TV journalism. So wasn't like it was broken. There are YouTube and social media outreaches. You can watch past clips on various things. There is a Pluto 24/7 channel. There has been streaming things. So it's not like the show doesn't have a digital footprint, and not like the show is not working. So the idea that the show was broken and now needs to be fixed is odd. Could it be made better suited for digital audiences? Of course. Could there be ways of expanding it? They've been tried, and of course they can be tried again. But the notion that the show is broken is an odd one.
So let's say the show does continue in the form that we see. What do you think this story, this sort of hoopla around the show does to the show's reputation or to CBS's? Anything?
Yes, there's a danger. If you look at audiences for the Washington Post, other journalism properties that have, zigged and zagged, trying to catch the political zeitgeist, trying to maybe, play up to the government, audiences tend to leave. They feel these institutions are no longer speaking news, but are becoming bullhorns for the owner. And I think there's a danger of 60 Minutes losing its audience. And also, I will say this is a time at the show's process where they're just kind of getting back from the end of the season, trying to start stories for the fall. The more this is disrupted, I mean, you already have 3 people who are out: Anderson Cooper, Sharon Alfonsi, and Cecilia Vega. Scott Pelley seems to be a question mark all of a sudden. Who's going to deliver these stories in September?
Lots of questions. Brian, good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It is time now to get a check of the weather. There's a risk of severe storms from Texas into the northern plains this morning.
NBC meteorologist Andrea Romero joins us with the forecast. Andrea, good morning.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. And we are starting this morning with this threat, multi-day severe weather threat that will be impacting especially the northern plains. In fact, this morning we've been tracking these storms moving over parts of Oklahoma into Kansas and even Nebraska. And this will be the location of where we're expecting the severe threat, a slight risk extending from Nebraska into the Dakotas, where damaging hail over 2-inch in diameter will be the main threat. And we'll see that threat again repeat tomorrow over basically parts of the same area where the tornado risk will be low, but we'll continue to see the threat of hail in those locations. And now if we talk about the flash flood risk, that's going to be over parts of North Dakota and especially here over parts of eastern New Mexico and western Texas. And we even have the chance of some flooding that can occur all the way from Houston across the Gulf Coast into Panama City and along the eastern coast of Florida. So we are looking at rainfall totals 1 to 2, maybe some isolated 3 to 5 inches, especially in those locations in Texas and in New Mexico, burn scar areas, those steeper terrains where we can see that flash flooding developing. We have fantastic weather in the northeast today, and we are expecting a warm up throughout this week. We're looking at temperatures in the 80s the next couple of days and possibly even into the 90s as we head into the weekend. So it's going to be hot in the east later on this week. And for Saturday, Sunday, we'll begin to cool down a little bit in those locations, but it will maintain the temperatures will be warmer than average over the northern tier heading into next week as far as the temperature profile. So we're looking at that summery weather that's starting to impact parts of the country, and it's about time.
It's about time. It's just in time. We will take it.
It's June. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. This is what's about to come here on Morning News Now. An all-time tennis great back in action next week. Later this hour, we'll have much more on Serena Williams' highly anticipated return to the sport she loves.
Up first, the search continues in Laos for 2 men still trapped in a cave underground, but there may be signs of hope in that search. We will explain next. Welcome back. A desperate search is continuing in Laos this morning. Rescue crews are working to reach 2 men still trapped underground as new signs offer hope they may still be alive. NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer joins us with the latest. Janice, good morning.
Joe, good morning. For nearly 2 weeks, the world's attention has been locked on this remote cave in Laos, where rescue teams are desperately searching for 2 men trapped somewhere inside in a race against time, weather, and uncertainty.
Yeah. Overnight, the search expanding for 2 men still missing inside a cave in central Laos. Okay. Rescue teams heading deeper into the narrow tunnels underground, while above, exploring other ways to get into the cave. Rescuers getting valuable information from survivors. 4 men incredibly crawling out on their own over the weekend. A day after divers pulled the first survivor to safety. The ambitious plan is now taking shape.
The water here.
Every detail both delicate and crucial.
Once the water here can clear up, we bring another pump to here.
Because time is running out.
What are the biggest risks?
That's the water. Because if the water, like the raining harder, the water is getting into the cave, that is the worst.
What sparked momentum for the search, a knocking sound, heard by divers on Monday when they were deep inside a shaft. The goal, according to rescuers, to reach a chamber about 1,000 feet in, where they know there is an air pocket and maybe a chance to find them.
The rescue effort now carries different risks, with the focus more on rappelling down ropes and climbing. Several of the divers are now stepping back, but we're told the big push into the cave won't happen. It can't happen until they pump most of the water out. Joe?
All right. Janice, thank you.
Well, we are now less than 2 weeks away from the World Cup kicking off here in North America. For the first time since 1994, the United States will play host to the final of the world's biggest soccer, or football tournament. So far, though, a lot of the conversation has been about the cost of tickets. It's leaving many fans priced out.
So NBC News has been crunching the numbers to try and find out just how expensive it would be to attend the opening match in each of the 11 U.S. host cities. That's based on hotel and ticket prices. Warning to your wallet, the price tag could be about the same amount as a month of rent in Chicago, just depending on the match you want to see.
For a look at these numbers, we are joined here on set by NBC News data editor Joe Murphy. Joe, great to have you with us. Good morning.
It's good to be here.
All right, so you ran the math on this. Walk us through just first, like, how you crunched these numbers. What'd you do?
Right. So the reporter came to me last week. He was like, I want to figure out what World Cup prices are. And I was like, well, this is how you do it. So we looked up more than 150 hotel prices across the 11 markets. That's about 15 hotels per market. We looked for hotels that were nearby, that were the cheapest hotels we could find. And we took the average of those numbers and compared them to the average cheapest World Cup ticket price for the first match in each of those cities.
So we're seeing a breakdown here. Walk us through some of the things we're seeing here.
Right. So New York City, most expensive.
Yeah.
Los Angeles and Boston, also pricey. You know what was surprising? Kansas City, also in the top tier.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think people are thinking, go to KC, it'll be cheaper.
Not at all. If you want to get the cheap ticket prices, you want to go to Miami, you want to go to Atlanta.
Yeah, let's break that down. What are the cheapest prices and how do they, in the end, compare with New York?
For a hotel and a ticket, you're looking at $600 in Miami. If you live in the Miami area, you're looking at about $250 just for the ticket.
Whoa. I think of Miami as an expensive place. I'm kind of surprised to hear this.
We were surprised, too.
And isn't it such a soccer city?
Right.
Okay. Didn't make any sense to me.
We're stunned.
How much do prices vary depending on, like, what stage of the tournament it is and when people may really want to be at a game?
For sure. You're looking at the World Cup final, you're looking at, $8,000 for a ticket in New York City. So you would expect prices to go up. Prices at the initial outlay were about $33,000 for, that was the most you could pay for a ticket in the World Cup finals. But now there are people selling their tickets for the World Cup finals for as much as $11 million. No joke.
11 million.
You're not going to get it. But.
You should come back every day to stun us into silence in some way. I'm like,
the bottom line is there are still tickets available. Just what should people know if they're still contemplating this and looking ahead to the matches that are ahead?
Well, it depends on how close you live to a stadium. About 82 million people live in one of the metro areas near one of the stadium. And YouGov did a survey last week of people going of World Cup attitudes and found that about 11% of U.S. adults are either traveling or attending a game. And of that 11%, about 8% actually live in the area. So a lot of people live in the area. If you live in the area, you can afford to wait and see,
oh, that's interesting.
Maybe ticket prices will bottom out a little bit closer you get to the match.
Okay.
Good tip. Joe Murphy, really fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Coming up, our nation's 250th birthday is just over a month away, and preparations are happening just all across the country.
When we come back, we'll tell you how thousands of sailors and Marines on historic ships are gearing up for this 4th of July. You're watching Morning News Now. We are back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with a former election clerk's early release from prison.
NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us with that and more. Megan, good morning.
Hey, Joe and Savannah, good morning. Yeah, let's start in Colorado, where election denier Tina Peters was released from prison early after the governor commuted her 9-year sentence. Peters is a former Colorado county clerk, and she had promoted conspiracy theories related to the 2020 election. She'd been convicted for charges related to using someone else's security badge to let a person connected with election denier and MyPillow founder Mike Lindell to access county election equipment. Now, her sentence had been commuted after President Trump repeatedly pushed for her release. Let's go next to primary races, where across the country, several incumbents have lost re-election bids earlier this year. Now, remember, it's usually fairly hard to defeat incumbents. Several incumbents face tough primary challenges across the country today, when a handful of states are holding their primaries. Now, on the Democratic side, several of these primary challengers in California and beyond are being challenged by younger candidates who are calling for a new generation to head to Congress. Finally, let's head to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which works to address diseases including Ebola. It's also the institute, that used to be run by Dr. Anthony Fauci. Now the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has killed hundreds of people, and critics of the Trump administration are expressing concerns that the institute isn't positioned to respond. Now the institute doesn't appear to have a director, and several leaders have resigned, been fired, or reassigned. Now a spokesperson for the Department of Health and Human Services denied that the U.S. is less prepared to respond to infectious disease threats. And that's a look at what's making news in politics this morning, guys.
All right, Megan, thank you.
We are a little more than a month out from America's 250th birthday, and some of the world's most impressive ships are playing a part in the celebrations. Dozens of vessels are hitting major ports like Baltimore, Virginia, and right here in New York City. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson got an up-close look during their first stop in New Orleans. Priscilla, good morning.
Yeah, we are live from on board the U.S. Coast Guard Eagle. It is the only tall ship that is in U.S. service. And when I say tall, I do mean tall. Look at that mast, more than 145 feet in the air. And this ship is going to lead all the tall ships into New York Harbor as the countdown to 250 continues. This is the first stop on the way to New York Harbor.
This is the first stop of our 250 years of greatness.
The voyage has officially begun. Over 100 ships from around the world, all now sailing toward New York City to celebrate America's Big 250, including the only tall ship in U.S. service, the Coast Guard Eagle. The 295-foot vessel set to lead the parade of sail.
This ship is all powered by hand.
Every rope, mast, and ship's wheel powered by sweat and skill.
This is where we drive the ship. You can give it a shot if you want.
Okay.
Let's see if you can get it around.
Grab and pull?
Just pull as hard as you can.
Oh.
Keep on going.
Oh my God, okay.
Oh, you're doing great, Priscilla. Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, got it.
That was hard.
It's where Coast Guard cadets have trained since 1946. 23-year-old cadet Grant Gibson is on his third week aboard.
What is it like being a part of this history?
It is really special.
Like any great recruit, I couldn't disembark without first climbing the mast.
Okay.
Stepping into my harness.
Now I feel ready.
It was go time.
There you go. You're doing great. Don't look down.
I know, I am a little afraid of heights.
This is how you overcome those fears.
And sure enough, I did. With that, it was time to hop aboard the USS Kearsarge, one of the more than 40 naval vessels also set to join the flotilla.
All right, I have got my uniform, my name tag, and I am going to transform into a sailor for the day. I'm ready.
Now that I looked the part, it was time to meet my lieutenant commander.
This is our flight deck. So basically an airport on the water.
From the flight deck to the hovercraft, the massive amphibious assault ship is designed to carry aircraft, vehicles, and Marines. I got to work in the pilot house, learning how to communicate in the event of an emergency.
Aft steering, pilot house, transferring steering to aft steering.
Very good.
And even alerting the crew when the captain leaves the ship.
It goes 4 bells and sets of 2.
Memories that everyday Americans can make too, as this international fleet makes its way up the East Coast.
It's an honor to be able to be on the ship.
As meaningful to them as it is to the men and women guiding these ships into New York Harbor.
What do you think that's going to feel like for you?
Very impactful on a personal level too. My wife will have just gotten back from deployment. We'll be there together, and that's going to be incredible.
It's going to be an experience that none of us are ever going to forget. You're going to represent this country with pride.
Happy America 250! Take a look at this. These folks are hard at work down there pulling the lines, or the ropes as I would call them, climbing up that mast as they are getting ready to head out as soon as we get off the ship. Their next stop is going to be in Charleston in about 2 weeks. They'll pick up a whole new group of cadets, and folks there will also have a chance to tour the ship. I will say I did ask NBC if I could get the month off to continue my journey, but I was told that would not be possible. But I'm ready.
I was going to say, look for Priscilla sailing the ships.
No kidding. Girl, you were good
month.
at that. Loved it. Thanks, Priscilla. Coming up, after 4 years away from the Games, Serena Williams is returning to competitive tennis next week in London.
Up next, we're going to tell you what the all-time great is saying about her comeback, how fellow athletes and fans are celebrating. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Hollywood has been chasing Gen Z for years, trying to get younger audiences back to theaters. Well, maybe a way to reach them is to hand them the camera. At the box office, young filmmakers who first built audiences online are now going up against big Hollywood releases, drawing in big crowds of their own in a shift in what's bringing people back to the big screen. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Melas has more. Chloe, good morning.
Hey there, a new generation of creators who grew up making content online are bringing loyal followers fresh ideas and a bold new playbook straight to theaters. This weekend's two biggest hits, Backrooms and Obsession, coming from Gen Z filmmakers on shoestring budgets and topping even the newest Star Wars film. The biggest story at the box office this weekend didn't come from a superhero or a galaxy far, far away.
I'm your freaky Nikki.
It came from YouTube. A24's Backrooms about an unsettling alternate universe dominated with 81.4 million, making 20-year-old Kane Parsons the youngest director to open a film at #1 globally.
No, don't do that!
And in second place, 26-year-old Curry Barker's directorial debut, Obsession, an unprecedented feat, especially for a film that cost just $750,000 to make.
As the leader of the ship, I had to tell the people this is going to be huge. But really, I had no idea.
Both first-timers got their start on YouTube with viral horror videos, building a fan base that followed them to the big screen.
What does all of this say about the future of big budget blockbuster Hollywood movies?
So it says there's a new model, which is come up with an interesting idea, come up with a filmmaker that can do it for cheap, and people will show up because it feels fresh.
Welcomed by younger audiences who are driving a movie theater renaissance. Gen Z's theater attendance jumped 25% last year, more so than any other generation. And according to the studios, 2/3 of Backrooms' audience was under 25, while roughly 75% of Obsession viewers were in the 18 to 34 demographic. The success of both films sparking questions of whether a generation raised online may end up saving the movie theater experience. Both Backrooms and Obsession have outperformed Disney's Mandalorian and Grogu, which, get this, cost around $165 million to make, while the combined budget for Backrooms and Obsession is just shy of $11 million. And these directors, they're just getting started. A24 has already tapped Curry Barker to help a reimagining of the cult classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And Kane Parsons says he's not done with Backrooms just yet, so keep your eyes peeled for a sequel, guys. Back to you.
There's a lot of buzz on Broadway ahead of this weekend's Tony Awards.
Up next, Joe will go one-on-one with Richard Thomas, one of the stars of The Ballisters, nominated for 5 Tonys as he looks forward to Broadway's biggest night.
Finally this hour, with the Tony Awards just days away, we're taking a look at one of Broadway's most talked about new plays. It's called The Ballisters. It's up for 5 Tony Awards, including Best Play. Set in a small, idyllic community, the story turns chaotic after a new neighbor makes a simple request at an HOA meeting. Joining me this morning, one of the show's stars, a legend of both stage and screen, Richard Thomas, who's also nominated for a Tony for his role as Elliot Emerson. Of course, many of you may also know him as John Boy, the aspiring writer at the heart of the 1970s hit series The Waltons, a role that earned him an Emmy Award back in 1973. Richard, it is such an honor to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for getting up so early. Okay, so this is maybe a plot that a lot of people can relate to. A dysfunctional HOA board, and you are the one running this dysfunctional HOA board. What drew you to this role?
Well, what drew me to the role is we did a reading of it at Manhattan Theater Club, and the play is so impeccably, I mean, David Lindsay Bear has written such a wonderful play, and the role is marvelous. And so when they invited me to play it, I was so thrilled. It's a beautifully written character, and it's so wonderful to give the audience such a good evening of fun theater, and fun theater about serious ideas too. It's smart, it's funny, but smart. It's beautiful, and living in New York, of course, everyone has a story about either being on an HOA board or living in a building, and
being angered by one.
And everybody who comes to see the play knows everybody, but it really stands in for our society at large. I mean, the HOA really is all of us in our society, and so many of the things that we live with and deal with right now are touched on in the play. And the cast is just...
It's a beautifully well-rounded
cast. It's the most
cast.
Wonderful company.
It's hilarious. I've seen it twice already because I had so much
great.
fun the first time. You probably have to explain to people what a baluster is, I'm guessing, because a lot of people don't necessarily know what that is.
Yes, well, people think it's a family, like an 80s dynasty television show, the balusters. No, it holds a porch up. You have the porch railing, and then you have the balusters with the footing. Yeah. But come see the play, and then you'll know what it is.
And then you'll fully understand what it is. Not to give too much away, but you get to release some emotions at the end of this play every time, and that must be exhilarating for you. You get a little upset.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I've been chewing the scenery for decades, and now I get to beat it up with the baluster. It makes me very happy.
That's just a little hint there of what happens there. It gets very exciting there at the end. Obviously, we have to ask you, many people know you as John Boy.
Of course.
And you probably go day after day still hearing people
all the time
say to you,
"Good night, John Boy." And sometimes they call it out during the curtain call.
Oh, really?
All the time. It's great. I love it.
What has that meant for you? I mean, just a concept. Because if you look at your IMDb, you have done so many roles on the screen and on the stage, but something about that just continues to hold on.
Well, it was magic. It was exquisitely written, and we had a wonderful cast. It was a beautiful show. It was a unique show. No young actor could have been offered a better way to step up than John Boy. I love the play. We all stay in touch. We're still like a big family.
You are, right?
We're in touch with each other all the time and love each other just as much as we did then, even more because it's been so many years. And it's just one of the best things that could ever. I wish every actor could have that experience.
You talk about the fact that you were a young actor at the time, and that experience was so different for you compared with what young actors are experiencing today. There really is a difference, isn't there?
There's a big difference. I mean, there's always a lot of eyes on you when you're a young star, but now it's insane with social media and everything. I can't imagine the pressure that young up-and-coming and successful performers feel. I feel for them, and I think about them all the time. You got to cut them a lot of slack because there's a lot they have to deal with.
You were 7 years old when you made your Broadway debut, correct?
I was.
And here we are. I won't say how many years later, but quite a few years later.
I think my Actors Equity card is going to be 67 years old this fall.
That is incredible. Just as we come to this weekend and your second Tony nomination, what has the theater world and the theater community meant to you?
Well, my parents were in the ballet. I was really born onto the stage practically. It's home. The theater is home for me. I love working in front of the camera. It's a marvelous way to act. It's a great art form when it's good. But the theater for me is the mother art for actors, and for this actor anyway. And so whenever I walk into a theater, no matter where it is in the country, I feel like I'm home.
Well, I can't recommend enough the balusters for you. Of course, the Tonys are this weekend. You're prepared to take it in and enjoy every moment of it.
Yes, of course. Well, maybe not every moment.
We'll see. Richard Thomas, balusters, by the way, playing right now in Midtown Manhattan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Joe.
That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.